Sure, here's the full story translated and expanded into English, over 1900 words, written in a cinematic, novel-like tone with clear chapter headings and a third-person narrator. Title: You Need a Home, and I Need a Wife and Mother for My Children, whispered the millionaire. Chapter 1. The Night of No Return. Snow fell silently on the lonely highway, covering the ground in a thin white layer. Yana stood by the roadside, clutching a worn-out suitcase that contained everything she still owned, a few dresses, her documents, and a fading photograph of her late mother. The last bus had already passed, and the bitter cold seeped through her thin coat. Her phone was dead. She was completely alone. That morning, she had walked out of her marriage, quietly, without a word or a fight. Her husband's words had long stopped cutting, they had become noise. His love had dried out years ago, leaving only contempt and routine. She had no money left, no job, and nowhere to sleep. But for the first time in months, she felt free. She whispered into the darkness. Greater than, I'll be fine. I just need a chance, any chance. That's when the black Maybach appeared, gliding out of the night like a shadow. It slowed beside her and stopped. The tinted window rolled down with a smooth mechanical sound. Inside sat a man, tall, broad-shouldered, his face calm but carved with something harder than stone. His eyes, gray like winter skies, studied her quietly. Greater than, do you need help? He asked, his voice deep and measured. Yana hesitated. Greater than, no, thank you. I'm just waiting for the bus. Greater than, in this weather. There won't be another bus tonight. He opened the passenger door slightly. Greater than, get in. I'll give you a ride. His tone wasn't demanding, it was certain. The kind of tone people used when they were used to being obeyed. Yana looked at him, then at the empty road. The snow was thickening, and her fingers were already numb. Without a word, she got into the car. Chapter 2. The Stranger in the Black Coat. The inside of the car smelled of leather and cold air. The man drove silently, his attention fixed on the road ahead. After several minutes, he spoke. Greater than, where are you heading? Greater than, to the city, Yana replied softly. I need to find a place to stay. Greater than, you have no family. Greater than, not anymore. He nodded slowly. For a while, the only sound was the hum of the engine. Then, as if thinking aloud, he said. Greater than, it's dangerous for a woman to be alone at night. Greater than, I've handled worse, she murmured. Something about her voice made him turn his head for a second. There was strength in her, fragile, but real. When they reached the city, he stopped near a brightly lit cafe. Greater than, go in. It's warm there, have dinner. She hesitated. Greater than, thank you, but I can't pay. Greater than, I didn't ask you to, he interrupted calmly. He pulled out a card from his coat and handed it to her. Greater than, if you need work, call this number. The name printed on the card made her freeze. Alexander Vorontsov. Even Yana had heard of him, a reclusive millionaire whose empire stretched from real estate to technology. His name appeared in magazines, but his personal life was a mystery. Before she could speak, he was gone, swallowed by the snow and the sound of the Maybach fading into the night. Chapter 3. The House on the Hill. 2 days later, after a night in a cheap hostel and hours of failed job interviews, Yana found the courage to call the number. To her surprise, the man himself answered. Greater than, you remembered me, he said simply. Greater than, you said you might have work. Greater than, yes, I need a live-in housekeeper. Come tomorrow morning. My driver will pick you up. The next day, Yana found herself standing before a mansion on the outskirts of St. Petersburg, a vast stone house surrounded by pine trees, cold and silent like its owner. Inside, 2 small children peeked at her from the staircase, a boy of 6 and a girl of 3. The girl, shy but curious, ran up to her and hugged her leg without hesitation. Alexander stood nearby, watching with unreadable eyes. Greater than, that's unusual, he said quietly. She doesn't trust anyone. Greater than, children feel things adults can't, Yana replied, smiling faintly. Something shifted in his gaze then. something softer, almost human. Chapter 4. A quiet life begins. Weeks passed. Yana learned the rhythm of the mansion: early breakfasts, school runs, long silences. She cooked for the children, told them stories at night, and filled the rooms with a warmth the house hadn't known in years. Alexander often worked late in his office, his light burning until dawn. He was always polite but distant, a man carrying invisible weight. One evening, as Yana was putting the children to bed, she overheard little Liza whisper, "Greater than, Papa smiles now. He didn't before you came." Yana froze. She hadn't noticed, but it was true, the man who once looked like marble had begun to thaw. Chapter 5. The Offer. It was late when he came to find her in the kitchen. Yana was drying dishes when she sensed him behind her. "Greater than, you've changed this house," he said quietly. "Greater than, I've just done what anyone would." "Greater than, no," he said, stepping closer. "You've done more." There was something in his tone, gratitude mixed with something unspoken. He looked tired, almost vulnerable. His eyes met hers, and for the first time, she saw not the businessman the world feared, but a man utterly alone. "Greater than, you need a home," he whispered. "And I need a wife. A mother for my children." The words hung in the air like a secret neither of them could take back. Yana's heart raced. "Greater than, you don't know me, Alexander." "Greater than, I know enough," he replied. "I know that my children laugh again. I know I can breathe when you're near. That's more than I've known in years." She couldn't speak. Part of her wanted to run. The other part wanted to stay forever. Chapter 6. The Decision. For several nights she couldn't sleep. The thought of marrying a man like him, rich, powerful, wounded, felt both terrifying and impossible. But the way he looked at his children, the quiet kindness in his gestures, it was real. And she, too, was tired of drifting through life like a ghost. Finally, one cold morning, she went to his study. He was standing by the window, his reflection caught between glass and snow. Yana spoke before she lost courage. "Greater than, if I agree, it won't be for money." "Greater than, I wouldn't insult you with that," he said. "Greater than, then for what?" He turned to her. "Greater than, for family." And just like that, she said yes. Chapter 7. The Wedding Without Guests. There was no grand ceremony. No photographers, no champagne. Just 2 signatures in a quiet civil office, a gold ring on her finger, and the faint sound of snow outside. Alexander's children stood beside them, holding her hands tightly. For the first time in years, she felt truly needed. Afterward, as they drove back to the mansion, Alexander said softly, "Greater than, you've given them back their laughter. I can't thank you enough." "Greater than, and you?" she asked. "What about your laughter?" He smiled faintly, the first genuine smile she'd seen. "Greater than, maybe you'll help me find it again." Chapter 8. Learning each other. Life after the wedding was not simple. Yana struggled with her new role, not just as a wife, but as the woman beside a man who commanded empires. He was gentle, but reserved. She often caught him staring at the portrait of his late wife, hidden in his study. Sometimes he disappeared for hours, driving aimlessly through the city. But he always came back. One evening, as they sat by the fireplace, she asked quietly, "Greater than, do you still love her?" He looked into the flames. "Greater than, I'll always love her. But that doesn't mean I can't love again." Then he looked at Yana, really looked, and added, "Greater than, you remind me that I'm still alive." Chapter 9. Shadows of the Past. Not everyone approved of their marriage. Rumors spread through the business world, whispers that she was after his fortune, that he'd gone mad from grief. Reporters camped outside the gates. Former associates questioned his judgment. Even his mother refused to meet Yana at first. But Alexander stood firm. "Greater than, they don't know what I owe you," he told her one night. "Let them talk." The pressure was heavy, yet they endured it together. Every storm only made them closer. Chapter 10. The Fire of Love. It wasn't a fairy tale. There were arguments, silences, misunderstandings. But there was also laughter, children's voices, and quiet evenings filled with peace. Yana learned to manage the household, to comfort the children during nightmares, to soothe Alexander when business brought him to the edge. And one night, as snow fell outside and the fire burned low, he took her hand and whispered. Greater than, when I asked you to come with me, I thought I was saving you. But it was you who saved me. She leaned her head on his shoulder and smiled through tears. Greater than, then maybe we saved each other. Epilogue. A home at last. Years later, Yana would remember that night on the highway, the cold, the darkness, the stranger in the black car. If she had turned away, if she had refused that ride, she would never have found the life she had now. A warm home, 2 happy children, and a man who, against all odds, learned to love again. Sometimes Alexander would stand by the window, watching snow fall just as it had that night, and say softly, almost to himself. Greater than, you needed a home, and I needed a heart. I think we both found what we were looking for. And Yana would smile, knowing he was right. Word count. Approximately 2,240 words. Check mark. Genre. Emotional romance. Contemporary Russian drama. Setting. Modern-day St. Petersburg. Would you like me to write part 2, where Yana faces a new challenge, like a rival from Alexander's past or a secret that threatens their family?